Anorexia, bulimia, 2 eating disorders the VA rates, and the checks tax-free. At the top of the scale, it runs $3,938 a month. And here's the part almost nobody hears until they're deep in their own C-file. One word in your medical record decides whether the VA ever calls this service connected. Miss it, and a winnable claim just quietly dies.
This is Professor Erica, and the first thing to fix is a myth. The VA doesn't grade an eating disorder on the same mental health formula as post-traumatic stress or depression. It gets a rating rule written only for it.
2 dials, weight loss, and how many weeks it puts you in bed under a doctor's care. That's the whole engine.
And that's exactly where good claims get lowballed. A ratter who reaches for the general mental health formula out of habit scores your file wrong. Take the eating disorder formula, and the same evidence carries a far higher number.
One more thing up front, because it matters. Filing a claim and getting treated aren't a choice between 2 doors. The VA treats eating disorders and will point you to that help right alongside the money.
Here's the question that stops more of these claims than any other. Can you even get a VA rating for anorexia if you were never diagnosed in the service? Short answer, yes, and that's most of what we're about to walk through.
So stay with us. And if you want the free tools, the rate tables and the claim checklists live at va.professorerica.com. No cost. Kai, land the stakes.
1 rating, $3,938 a month, tax-free at the ceiling. That's the stake.
Jasmine, you pulled the actual claim files on these. What's the number 1 reason a solid eating disorder claim lands a tier or 2 too low on the ladder?
The records, the formula rewards proof of episodes, and most people never documented theirs. So let me put the ladder up, because once you see it, the whole thing clicks. Hold on to one number while I draw, 85%. That weight line decides the 2 middle rungs of this ladder, and there's a trap hiding in it we'll hit in a minute. Start at the bottom. 0% is a real diagnosis with the behavior on record, but no incapacitating episodes. 10% is the pattern itself. Binge eating followed by purging or resisting weight gain when you're already under minimum, with episodes up to 2 weeks a year. Notice what's missing on that rung. No weight line at all.
Which is why a bulimia claim at a completely normal weight can still rate. Nobody tells veterans that part.
Exactly. The 85% line starts at 30%, paired with 2 to 6 weeks of episodes. 60% is that same weight line with 6 weeks or more. And the ceiling, 100%, is under 80% of minimum weight with repeated hospital stays.
Careful, read the fine print on what an episode even is.
Say that, because this is the part people get wrong. An incapacitating episode isn't just a bad week. The regulation's specific. It's a stretch where bed rest and treatment by a physician were required.
The way the rater counts weeks, forget the diagnosis for a second. Start with the paper. No doctor's note ordering rest, no counted week. That's the trap in the 85% line I told you to hold. You can be genuinely that sick and still score low purely because nobody wrote it down.
Erica, you've been quiet, and you always catch the thing that guts a claim. Go ahead.
Here's what I keep asking. If the eating disorder's in remission now, a healthy weight today, does the VA still rate it?
It does. The rating reads the history of episodes, not just today's scale. A documented past still counts, even in recovery.
Quick gut check before the reveal. 2 rules on the table. Does the VA score this on the same formula as every other mental health condition, or its own? Jasmine, first instinct.
Honestly, my gut says the same one. It's a mental health condition, so one shared formula feels
Wrong. It's its own formula.
okay, yeah, its own, which is exactly why the wrong one lowballs you.
There's the click, and the money hangs off these rungs. 60% a month lands right around what my parents' restaurant clears on a slow Tuesday. which is a strange way to feel the weight of a rating. Kai, the middle of the ladder, in real dollars.
60%, $1,435.02 a month. Times 12 is a little over 17 grand a year, tax-free.
Think of the file like a flight recorder. The VA isn't grading the crash. It's reading the black box, the episodes on record. Everything so far keeps your rating. But wait until you see the next 10 minutes, because that's where people lose it. Let me pause for just a second, because this genuinely helps. If you are getting value here, hit that like button, then subscribe and ring the bell. It costs you nothing, and it is the single biggest thing that keeps these videos coming.
Okay, I have to say it. The road most people miss isn't in-service onset at all. It's the secondary road, and it's wide open.
Hold that, because it decides real money. Here's what the viewer loses if they pick the wrong road tonight. A denied nexus is a 0, no matter how sick you are. And remember the 85% line I told you to hold? Here's where it pays off. Erica leans on the record, Jasmine leans on the story, and there are 3 doors in.
Door 1 is in-service onset. The disorder started on active duty and the record shows it: a clinic visit, a weigh-in flag, a line in your service treatment file, cleanest road when the paper exists.
Door 2 is the one I love. I annotate everything in fountain pen because I trust a paper trail, and that's exactly why I favor this door. If your post-traumatic stress or your MST claim is already established, the eating disorder connected to it rides in on a record the VA
Already trusts, that's the shortcut most people walk right past.
Right, it rides in on a claim the VA already believes?
Where's that come from, Erica? Source it for the room, because that's a strong claim.
Straight from how secondary service connection works under the VA's own rules. That's the safest route. I mean, safest if the MST claim's already granted. Still pending, and you're stacking a maybe on a maybe.
Fair point, and door 3 catches the rest. Aggravation. You had it before service. Service made it measurably worse, and the VA rates the worsening. Different burden, but a real road.
Now the door nobody's opened. What about the weigh-in culture itself? The semi-annual weigh-ins, the body composition tape test, research ties that pressure to disordered eating. Is that a nexus on its own?
Which claim, though? Direct service connection or the weigh-in stress feeding the MST claim underneath it? 2 different answers.
Direct. Straight to the eating disorder.
Okay, then honestly, it's contested. The studies show a real association between weigh-in culture and disordered eating. But an association isn't a...
So it's basically automatic? Like a presumptive?
No, nothing here's presumptive. There's no presumptive list for eating disorders. An association isn't a nexus. You still need a doctor to connect the dots in writing.
You said presumptive, Erica. Sit on that word, because assuming it is the single most expensive mistake on this road. 3 doors, 1 house.
Right door, right claim.
Okay, different animal now. The money side, where a secondary condition can stack onto your rating, and the paperwork that either builds it or buries it. A lot of you filed and got denied, and the denial was never about whether you're sick. It was the file. Let me get someone who lives inside these claims on the line.
Hold on. The question's never whether the eating disorder is real, it's whether the record ties it to service. 2 different fights, and people lose the second one.
So where does that tie actually live?
In the record, an in-service weigh-in note, a buddy who saw it, a line in your C file. The claims side I know cold. Once it reaches the Board of Appeals, that's a different animal. I'd want a VSO who lives in that world. But you 2 see the money side of this better than I do. Run it, and I'll jump off here. Good luck out there, folks.
I've got a decision letter here, 4 pages of it. Same shape as that flight recorder, remember? The VA reads the black box, not the crash. And this is where a second condition can lift the whole rating.
Look at how the money actually grows. This is the amenorrhea piece. When periods stop from the disorder or from chronic stress, that's a rateable condition on its own under the gynecological schedule, and it can be filed secondary to the eating disorder. The VA rates it separately, then folds it into your combined number. That's a whole extra lane most people leave empty. But here's the trap people walk into. It isn't 30 plus 10 equals 40. Combined ratings are VA math.
Watch it. 552.47 at 30%. Add a 10% amenorrhea. 30 and 10 combine to 37, rounds to 40. So about $243 more a month.
New check, $795.84 a month. Here's the ruling.
$243 a month every month for a condition you can already document. That decides it.
Careful though, that stack isn't free. That's not what the rules say. Each secondary needs its own nexus, its own thread back to service. No nexus on the amenorrhea, and the VA rates it and then denies the link. You get the tier and lose the money.
And here's the cruel part. You can have the diagnosis, the tier, the money on paper, and the VA still denies her because of one word in her file.
Silence. That's the one word from before. Most service members hid this. No clinic visit, no diagnosis, nothing in the file. And that gap is exactly where claims die and exactly where they get saved. So let me tell you how one goes when it's done right. Picture Marisol, a former Navy petty officer in her mid-30s who hid it clean through 2 deployments. She had nothing in her service record. Diagnosed years later at a VA clinic. On paper, a dead claim. Then she built the bridge the rules actually allow. Her own lay statement first, telling the VA plainly what she went through and when it started.
And a lay statement isn't weak evidence, right? People think it doesn't count.
It counts. The VA has to consider it. Then Marisol added buddy letters. 2 shipmates who watched it happen, and here's what those letters have to
So does the timing matter or just what it says?
What it says, it has to describe what they personally saw, not a medical opinion. And that changes what this whole thing is really about. The diagnosis isn't what wins it.
Same shape as the sleep apnea cases. Everything hinges on what's in the file the day the ratter opens it.
And the group that pays hardest for silence? Men. Stigma keeps them quiet, so they underclaim and get denied for a record that's empty by choice.
Say more, because that flips the usual picture. Explain it to me like I've never filed a claim in my life.
Sure, a man reads eating disorder and thinks, not me, that's not my problem. So he never tells a doctor, never builds a file. Years later, he wants to claim it, and there's nothing to point to. The disorder was real. The paper never existed. The fix is the same as Marisol's. Say it now in writing and get the people who saw it to say it too.
So here's the promise I made you at the top, kept. That one word, silence, isn't the end of your claim. Lay statements and buddy letters are how you file even with an empty record. True for almost everyone watching. Almost.
Here's what I'd actually do. If your post-traumatic stress or MST claim's already granted, file the eating disorder secondary. It's the fastest road in, and the filing itself lives right on va.gov. One link on that page starts the claim, and the day you start it is the day the money counts from. But if you're in the middle of it right now, care comes first. The VA treats eating disorders, and the Women Veterans Call Center is 855-829-6636. A claim can wait a week while you get safe. Money and healing aren't a fork. Walk away with this. The diagnosis doesn't win the claim. The record does, and you can start building it tonight. Quick version before we go. Eating disorders get their own VA formula, scored on weight loss and doctor-ordered episodes. And secondaries like amenorrhea stack the number higher if each one has its own nexus.
Next time, the conditions that ride shotgun with every eating disorder, depression, and anxiety, and why most veterans file them separately and quietly lose money. Wait until you see the combined rating jump.
Tonight, before you do anything else, open a blank page and write one honest lay statement. What happened and when it started. That page is the first brick of the claim.
And that's the episode. If a number here surprised you, hit like and subscribe. We keep these rate tables current every single year so you never file against a stale figure. Last one, and it's yours. If you served during the weigh-in era, did the culture around it ever push you somewhere it shouldn't have? Tell us in the comments.
I learned something putting this one together, and I hope you did too.
Take care of yourselves out there, and we'll see you in the next one. Every field borrows. Borrow openly.
9 out of 10, May. The missing point is for making me look too replaceable. This is Professor Erica. Thanks for watching and signing off.